On April 10th of 1996, I got out 2 razor blades and I wrote a suicide note. And that night, I decided I would take my life. I had come to believe that my life was done. There was nothing more I could accomplish, and I was severely depressed. And I want to share this story with you today, not to add darkness, but to add hope, a lot of hope. My hope being that it helps somebody. It helps somebody feel not so alone, and helps somebody else feel seen, and helps somebody overcome something that they don't think they can overcome. Now, I wanted to go for a bike ride today as I shared this story, which is why I have my bike back there. But it's been raining a lot here, and the trails are all slick and greasy, and obviously there's social distancing and such. But I think this works out even better because it gives me at least a sense of being able to talk face to face with you. And hopefully, as I said, this helps somebody out. 24 years ago, I was 23 years old. And in 1996, I was facing a lot of problems. I was directionless. I had alienated myself from my family. I didn't keep in touch with them very much. I was living on my own. And I had been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder, ADD, and depression. And I was prescribed Prozac for the depression and Ritalin for the ADD. Neither of which you should mix with alcohol, by the way, but both of which I was mixing with alcohol. And I was also mixing NyQuil with it as well. I was absolutely trying to numb this type of pain that I had in my soul about my value and my worth and my adequacy to the world. And at 23, it's amazing to think that I thought my life would not get any better, that I believed that those days were forever. So I would mix the pills with the alcohol, and sometimes I would wake up outside of my apartment where I was living. I didn't even know how I got to where I was. I'd wake up in a field by my house, and I think out of habit I would have my keys in my pocket so I can still get back in, just kind of that autopilot. And I had come home from being out with some friends. I was a waiter at the time, and I had had dinner with them, and I remember feeling lifeless. And I remember feeling like the world had no color anymore. And I really couldn't feel anything anymore. And I had come home that night to an eviction notice at my apartment. I was way behind on my bills. I was a few months behind on my rent, so they were going to kick me out in a week if I didn't come up with the money. I was behind on my utilities, so my electricity was going to be shut off. Cable that I had at the time was already shut off. This is before everyone had a cell phone. So I had come home to an eviction notice, and I just thought that was it. I didn't know how my life was going to climb or get any better from that point on. I thought I had failed at everything. My girlfriend and I had just broken up. As I mentioned, I wasn't close with my family, and I was starting to keep friends at an arm's length, which is a horrible, horrible recipe for hope when you do that. So I wrote a suicide note, and I got out 2 razor blades. And I'd imagine the reason I got out 2 is what I had been thinking was I had one ready for each of my wrists, because I was going to cut my wrists. And I was going to do that in the shower. I thought that if I turned the shower on and I slit my wrists and let the water just kind of pour down on them, that it wouldn't hurt as much. And in some strange way, I thought when they found me, whoever it was that was going to find me, that it wouldn't be as messy for them. So I wrote a suicide note explaining that night I had not mixed anything. No pills, no alcohol. I was pretty sober-minded, I thought, and I had a really false sense of peace about what I was going to do. So I reached out and I called my friend Deanna to tell her what I was going to do. And I remember her I remember her just pleading with me not to do that. And saying that that's not the answer. And that isn't what God would want for my life. Not the plans that God had for my life. I remember telling her that she was wrong and I was still going to kill myself, but that I wanted somebody to know that I was sober and that I was thinking clearly, even though I wasn't. And I remember her saying, I'm going to come over. Let me come over. And I said, no, if you come over, I'll do it as soon as we hang up. So she just simply said, can you give me one more day? Give me one more day. Can you not do this tonight? So I agreed. I said, okay, I'll give you one more day, but nothing will change. Tomorrow then I'll kill myself. And I went to bed that night having really hit the bottom, having no color anymore in my life, and resolved that the next day would be my last day. Now I was used to waking up maybe 1, 2 in the afternoon from being just so strung out on the substances I was taking. But that night I slept. I slept so well. I think when you reach a point where you've let go of everything, every care, every concern, there's just nothing ruminating in your mind anymore. And strangely, I woke up about 6:30 in the morning. And I remember taking a deep breath, and I remember sitting up and looking around in amazement. And when I exhaled, what came out of me were the words, I found God. And I'm not here to preach to anybody. It was an overwhelming sense that something huge, much bigger than me, call it what you want, something incredible, something divine, had reached in and shifted something in my spirit that night. Because when I looked around, it was as if I had never seen color before. It was like the Wizard of Oz effect. Trees, vibrantly green, grass, vibrantly green, flowers, sky, everything. I was bathed in vibrance and life. And I had this strange sense of as if I could hear and understand wind blowing through every leaf on a tree, every single blade of grass, all the sounds of nature, birds, just life all around me. And I realized that weight was gone. It's just gone. That oppressive, sinking feeling that put 2 razors out on my bathroom sink. That same sinking feeling that had my hand writing a goodbye note, a suicide note. It's just gone. And I just had this overwhelming sense of renewal. That my life had tremendous, tremendous value and purpose. See, after I woke up, everything started to change for me. I celebrate April 11th as a birthday, a rebirth day for myself. April 11th, 1996. If you look at the banner on my YouTube channel, you'll see the Roman numerals 4/11/96. That's what it references. The day I first really took a breath and looked around and saw great hope all around me. Within a couple months, I would meet my wife, Sarah. And it was a remarkable thing, because my wife and I, when we had first met, we had known each other. We actually hated each other. We hated each other. But when I got to re-meet her a couple months after awakening, that hate was gone, and we saw each other, like really saw each other for the first time, and fell in love with her very quickly, because within a couple months we were engaged, and a year later we were married. A year after that, we had our first child, our daughter. We had a honeymoon baby. So, 9 months after the honeymoon of getting married, our daughter was born. And so grateful for that. And 5 years later, we would have our son. My wife and I have been married since 1997, celebrating over 20 years. And she's just the love of my life. And I never would have had that moment. I would have never seen that play out. I wouldn't have my kids had I taken my life. I would go from being in debt and having utilities shut off to starting to make a whole new career for myself. And I spent about 14 years in publishing and media, and met some wonderful people, and had some incredible opportunities that I am so thankful for. And I grew a lot since then. I mean, I got to work with my childhood heroes, and I got to grow as an artist and have my art on more things than I can even remember. Book covers and coloring books and bumper stickers and tattoos and logos and everything. Stuff I never would have imagined back pre-April 11th, 1996. Now I find myself in a new chapter. I still do art, but now I get to do personal development. I get to pour into people in a way I didn't have the tools for before. And I'm so excited about that, because the ability to pour hope into people, possibility into people, growth into people, it just lights me up. It lights me up. The whole point of this video is to be as open and transparent as possible, because mental wellness is incredibly real. And for those of you who have been to a point in your life where there's no more color, that dark night of the soul, just complete blackness, it sits with you. When I have hardships, it sits with me still that I got to that point. And I have to always be sober-minded about it, that I can't ever allow myself to get back there. One of the reasons why I have this channel isn't just to ride some trails, to have fun on a mountain bike. It's to help. It's to help encourage. It's to help bring hope, help bring insight, understanding. Today, not being on my bike was one of the most important days I knew I would film a video, because I had thought about this for weeks since I started my channel this year. And I had thought that I'm going to need to be as honest and as vulnerable as I can be about my past in order to bring hope to anybody who watches this or shares it with somebody that they know. That hope that today is not forever, no matter what you're feeling. That as down as you can be, life can turn and become wonderful. If you're suffering, if you're in that dark place, hang in there. Reach out to friends, reach out to family. Here's the number for suicide prevention services. Reach out to me. Leave a comment for the community. But don't do it alone, because there's so many great things around the corner for you. We can't always see them, but they are there. Gotta keep pressing on, keep moving towards it. It's there. And if you know somebody who needs this, please don't hesitate to share it with them. Not because I need the likes or the traffic, but because I desperately want to help as many people as I can live. Live full, wonderful, purposeful, amazing lives that they wake up every day and breathe in gratitude for. I hope this helps you. I hope you guys are hanging in there right now during tough times. And next week, I hope to be back on the trails. But for now, to everybody out there, peace and love.
Say what you want.